Before I spill this cup of piping, British drama, drop a comment. What would you do if your child told you to crawl under furniture on site? And if you're new, hit subscribe. I ruin lives on this channel daily, right? So, 4 months. 4 long, sweaty, soul-draining months deployed somewhere the sun actively tries to kill you, surrounded by lads who treat deodorant like it's a personality flaw. Honestly, the bloke next to me smelled like fear and baked crisps by week 2 and just leaned into it. Anyway, I make it out alive, relatively intact. Mentally questionable, and I think, you know what'll lift the spirits? A surprise homecoming. Like I'm in some heartwarming viral video where the family bursts into tears. The dog knocks me over and we all sob into a Tesco meal deal. I had it all planned. Didn't tell a soul. Classic military op, stealthy entrance, emotional ambush. Thought I'd walk through the front door and be greeted like a local hero. Maybe a roast dinner, maybe a cheeky pint. Maybe, and I was truly deluded here, a hug from my wife that didn't feel like tax season. So I rock up to my own house. Same garden gnome still leaning sideways like he's given up. Same wheelie bin half open like a passive-aggressive cry for help. And I think, home sweet bloody home. I open the front door. Not dramatically, mind. Just sort of shuffle in with all the fanfare of a knackered ghost. Bag on my shoulder, hair a mess. Probably smelt like trauma and army-grade soap. But I'm buzzing. My heart's going. I'm about to see them, my family. The reason I didn't just swan dive into madness while overseas. And that's when I hear it. Tiny footsteps. Not the wife. Not the dog. No, it's my daughter. And before I can even say, "All right, love, daddy's home," she sprints at me, grabs me like she's just been released from a Victorian orphanage, and whisper screams, "Dad, get under the bed, now." Now, I don't know what parenting manual she's been reading, but that's not usually the opener after 4 months apart. I mean, I was expecting maybe a teary cuddle or at least a badly drawn welcome home banner, not a command that sounds like it came from an MI5 safe house briefing. I blink. She looks up at me with eyes full of panic and a face that says, "I know I'm 10, but I've seen some things." And in that moment I realize, I'm not in a feel-good Facebook video. I'm in a bloody hostage situation. And the hostage is me. So I do what any emotionally wrecked, mildly suspicious father would do. I shut my mouth, dump my dignity on the floor, and crawl under the bed like a burglar hiding from a toddler. Still in full army gear, mind you. If irony had a postcode, I was bloody living in it. And as I lie there, face pressed against forgotten crumbs and what I hope was a sock, I think, well, that's new. Now look, I know I should have knocked. Might have saved me the psychological whiplash, but no. I went full Hollywood. Kicked open my own front door like a man returning from war and expecting a warm casserole and light applause. But no, what I got was trauma. Wrapped in a child-sized missile, I barely made it 3 steps in. Didn't even get to dump my bag, still had my boots on. Still smelled like sand and suppressed emotions. And suddenly, here comes my daughter, sprinting across the room, like a kid in a dodgy ITV Christmas ad, arms flung around me like a life raft. I'm thinking, oh, bless her. This is the part where she says she missed me and I cry in a manly, repressed kind of way. But no, she hugs me tight, heart thumping, breathing like she's just outrun a debt collector and whispers, "Dad, get under the bed, now." Just like that. No preamble, no warning. Like I'm not her father, but some bloke she's smuggling through customs. Now my first reaction was, is this a game? Hide and seek? Kidnapping reenactment? Have I been replaced by a much more emotionally available father figure and now I'm the side quest? But then I saw her face, pale, eyes wide. That look that says, "Don't ask questions or you'll get us both killed before EastEnders." And I swear to you, every soldier instinct I had kicked in like a car alarm during a lightning storm. I didn't argue. I didn't speak. I just nodded, you know, like a defeated man who knows full well he's no longer the protagonist in his own life, and followed her lead. We leg it upstairs like fugitives in a Channel 4 drama. She throws open the bedroom door, points at the bed like she's done this before, concerning, really, and then says again, "Now." So there I am, on my knees crawling under a bed that I paid for, in a house that still has my name on the council tax. I get one arm under, then the other, and wedge myself between a pair of dusty slippers and what might have been a crisp packet or a mouse. I didn't investigate. And the worst part? I just accepted it. Didn't ask why. Didn't throw a fit. Didn't even mutter something passive-aggressive like, Well, this is a bit much. Nope, just laid there like an emotionally stunned ferret, clutching the floorboards and wondering how the hell I went from battlefield to bunkers this quickly. All I could think was, brilliant. 4 months out there dodging mortars only to come home and dodge whatever fresh hell this is. And in that moment, as I lay there covered in dust, ego bruised, back aching, silently praying this was all just some weird bonding activity, I realized something rather depressing. I didn't know what I was hiding from, but she did. And that terrified me more than anything I saw overseas. I was halfway through saying, why? One syllable in, all confused ex-army bravado, when she hit me with the look. Not the please daddy look, no. This was the don't ask questions or we'll both end. Up on Crime Watch. Look, wide-eyed, breath short, a silent scream wrapped in freckles and glitter nail varnish. And just like that, I shut up. Because apparently I'll bark orders in a war zone, but a 10-year-old with a fear twitch? Yeah, no, she outranks me now. So I dropped like a sack of regrets. Elbows down, boots off, crawling under my own bed like some PTSD-riddled version of the very hungry caterpillar. There was dust. There were crumbs. There was definitely a hair bobble from 2017, and something that felt like a raisin, but might have been an earplug. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. And as I shuffled beneath the mattress, I bought during a Boxing Day sale, I still haven't paid off, it hit me. I've gone from storming enemy lines to hiding under my own bed like a bloke, caught cheating on a come dine with me special. Only thing missing was a sad trumpet and a half-drunk WKD. And let's not gloss over the fact that this child, my child, orchestrated the whole thing. With terrifying efficiency, didn't stutter, didn't flinch. She just pointed at the bed like she'd buried bodies under there before. Meanwhile, I'm lying flat, trying not to sneeze on a spider carcass, while my knees scream in Morse code and my spine files for divorce. And I'm thinking, what in the EastEnders plotline have I walked into? Because this wasn't normal. This wasn't even council house chaotic. This was something's gone deeply, irreversibly wrong, and you're only just realizing it, you daft sod. And still, a part of me thought, maybe it's just a game. Maybe we're playing spies. Maybe this is just one of those weird parenting moments where you humor the kid and later you both laugh about it over fish fingers and therapy. Spoiler alert, it wasn't a game. It was barely reality. And as we lay there, yes, because she climbed under with me like we were in a secret war bunker built out of disappointment and IKEA slats, I started to hear footsteps. Not heavy ones. No, calm, measured. Someone with the confidence of a man who absolutely thinks he belongs in my house. And that's when the panic truly set in. Because I knew that walk, that arrogant cadence, the kind of footsteps that say, I make toast here. I use the nice mugs. I've definitely used your shampoo. And I realized I didn't just walk into my house. I walked into someone else's plot twist. And me, I was the punchline. So there we are, me and my daughter crammed under the bed like two sausages in a shoebox, breathing through our noses like we're on some kind of budget MI5 op. And then, footsteps. Heavy ones, slow. Like someone who knows exactly where the biscuits are kept and doesn't feel guilty about eating the last hobnob. And they're not hers. Not my wife's, no way. I know her tread, light, slightly uneven. The sound of someone who's worn too many heeled boots from TK Maxx and is now permanently off balance. This was a man's walk. Not in an I lift weights and grill chicken kind of way, but more in a I scratch myself openly and drink orange squash straight from the jug sort of energy. Confident, casual, comfortable. The 3 C's that should never apply to a bloke in my house. At first I thought, maybe it's a burglar. You know, a charming one, with a lovely sense of direction. Maybe he just fancied a guided tour and a cuppa. But then I heard it, the clink of keys being chucked in my bloody bowl by the door. And that's when it hit me. This man isn't breaking in. He lives here. He's got a rhythm to his routine. Takes off his coat. Probably checks the fridge. Might even have a favorite mug. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a toothbrush in the bathroom and a drawer full of socks in my bedside cabinet. And suddenly I'm lying under the bed, Hart doing a full Glastonbury set list, while my daughter grips my hand like we're 5 seconds from a hostage negotiation. And I'm thinking, I've just survived 4 months being shot at in a desert, only to come home and be emotionally mugged in my own postcode. The footsteps creak closer, floorboard by floorboard. and I start noticing things I hadn't clocked before. There's a hoodie on the back of the chair, not mine. There's a half-empty protein shaker on the windowsill. Definitely not mine. I'm allergic to that level of self-confidence. And the air smells faintly of Lynx Africa and betrayal. And then he speaks. Somewhere just beyond the door, casual as you like, he says, "Babe, you want a cuppa?" "Babe?" "Bubba." I haven't been called babe since 2016. And even then it was sarcastic. Now this walking gym membership is calling her babe in my house. On my carpet wearing God knows what on his feet. And I realize he doesn't just live here. He's settled. He's survived the awkward toilet stage. He knows where the tea towels are, and I'd bet actual cash he's the one who suggested the new throw pillows. So I do what any emotionally overwhelmed, sleep-deprived ex-soldier would do in this situation. I stay completely still. Because frankly, I've lost control of the plot, the setting, and possibly my entire role in this show. And somewhere deep inside me, the part of my soul that once believed in love and loyalty just quietly went, brilliant. "Welcome home, mate." And then I hear it. A voice. Not mine. Not a neighbor's, not even one of those weird telly voices off Love Island that makes you question whether vowels are optional now. No, this was a bloke's voice, deep, confident, casual. That effortless sort of masculine that suggests he's the kind of man who owns cologne and uses it on purpose. He says, and I swear I nearly swallowed my tongue. What was that noise? Oh, brilliant. He's got the gall to investigate noises in my house. I used to do that. Back when I was the man of the house. Now I'm just a war-scented dust bunny, lurking under the bed like an unwanted sock. And my daughter, bless her stone-cold 10-year-old heart, she doesn't even flinch. No panic, no stammer. Just looks in the general direction of the hallway and goes, "Nothing. Just watching cartoons." Like it's the most natural thing in the world. Like lying to strange men in her own home is part of her after-school routine, right between eat a Kit Kat and pretend homework's done. And let me tell you, she delivered that line with the coolness of someone who's done this before. Not her first rodeo, not her first secret. She lied with the confidence of a woman who's deleted text messages before someone else could read them. That's the bit that really got me. Not the voice. Not even the lie, but the ease of it. Like she'd had practice. Like this wasn't the first time. She'd been in a high-stakes, emotional hostage situation and handled it better than I ever could. I felt proud and heartbroken simultaneously. Like one of those Channel 4 dramas, where someone smiles through a nervous breakdown while pouring tea. And I'm just there under the bed, forehead mashed against a dusty sock I'm 90% sure isn't mine. Having an existential crisis because my daughter's turned into Jason Bourne and my wife's clearly upgraded her romantic subscription package. There's this pause, long enough for me to question every life choice I've made since 2009. And then he just carries on, like it was nothing, like the love of my life and our child. Haven't been keeping secrets that now smell faintly of aftershave and betrayal. Meanwhile, I'm under here breathing like a pensioner on a treadmill, praying the bed slats don't give out and turn this whole farce into a full-blown soap opera funeral. And here's the kicker, the really crushing laugh or cry bit. The only thing I could think was, she didn't even sound nervous. No guilt, no wobble, just a 10-year-old covering for her mom's guest. And me, reduced to a dust-gathering footnote in the emotional novella of my own bloody family. Proper British tragedy, this. All we need now is a rainstorm, a sad pub song, and someone offering me a cuppa. I'll absolutely decline out of pride, but secretly want. So there I am, army man, protector, defender of the free world, currently face down next to a broken biro, one of those sticky child sweets that somehow defies all laws of time, and what might be a rogue toenail, under my own bloody bed, in what used to be my bedroom, in what used to be my house, listening to some bloke who is very much not me, casually strolling around, like he's just done the weekly shop and remembered to get oat milk, like he's earned the right to scratch his arse in my hallway. And do you know what I hear from my darling wife? Absolutely nothing. Not a cough. Not a who's that noise under the bed? Not even the trademark sigh she used to save exclusively for me. The one that said, "I love you, but also please stop breathing like that." Radio silence. She's not in the room. She's not defending my honor. She's not throwing this random geezer out with a shoe and a shriek of betrayal. She's just gone. And I'm lying there, surrounded by dust and resentment, slowly realizing I've been gone 4 months. And that's apparently all it takes to be replaced. Erased and emotionally yeeted into oblivion. Honestly, I've seen less brutal coups and military dictatorships. And it's not even like I was backpacking around Thailand finding myself. No, I was dodging bullets, eating vacuum-packed regret, and watching grown men cry over baby photos taped to bunk beds. But back here in sunny suburbia, turns out I was the one deployed, permanently, just no one thought to inform me. This geezer upstairs, he's not nervous, not tiptoeing, not whispering. He's got that tone, the relaxed domestic tone, the kind you only get after you've farted freely on someone's sofa for at least 3 months. Comfortable, settled, possibly knows where the teaspoons live. And my daughter? Still playing it cool, still being weirdly chill about the whole dad's under the bed espionage subplot. And I start thinking, oh God, has this been going on a while? Is this her Tuesday night routine now? Mom's new bloke comes over. Dad's an optional ghost. And me? I've gone from head of the house to rogue draft excluder in a single deployment. You know what no one tells you when you sign up for service? That you might come back with medals and PTSD. But your place on the bloody sofa isn't guaranteed. I used to complain about the damp patch in the bathroom ceiling. Now I'm nostalgic for it. Right, so, while I was out there doing God knows what for Queen and Country, apparently back here someone else was dodging socks. You know, socks. Like the kind of socks you throw at the washing machine in a half-hearted attempt to keep up with the basic laws of cleanliness. But no, apparently that wasn't the only thing being dodged on my carpet. This walking disappointment wrapped in a budget brand polo shirt. I'll call him Tesco Value Stepdad, because he's like a subpar version of the dad you didn't know you didn't want. The kind who might bring his own mug to a dinner party and then complain about the tea being too weak. Real prize. Anyway, I'm under the bed, right? Lying there, feeling about as useful as an inflatable life raft in the Sahara. And this Greg, yes, I'm calling him Greg, because if I give him a name too dignified, I'll feel guilty, starts chatting. Oh yeah, because that's exactly what I need right now. Some bloke acting like he's casually waltzed into my home and taken my role in the family like it's a second-hand sofa. He's talking about dinner. Dinner, for crying out loud. He's going on about how it's nice having a little family, like we're a bloody IKEA display, ready for assembly at 3 p.m. on a Sunday. Really, Greg? Is it? Is it nice? You sure about that? Because, mate, last time I checked, I was the one who'd signed up for a mission to bring home peace and didn't expect to come back to an airbrushed version of the life I left behind. You're right, though. It must be nice for you, you know, with my wife cooking you dinner while you're proudly wearing her top like a bloody trophy. I'd be pissed, but I'm too busy lying under the bed like a sad sack of forgotten Christmas decorations. Oh, and the Wi-Fi password. This Muppet actually said, why, wait for it. Yeah, I got the Wi-Fi password sorted. It's nice being in a little family again. What does that even mean, Greg? It's not a little family. It's my bloody family that you've just wandered into, you Muppet. You don't get to waltz in here and act like you're part of the bloody creche. I'm genuinely trying to figure out what happened while I was away. I thought I left behind a functioning family unit. But what I've returned to feels more like a corporate merger I wasn't consulted on, and no one even had the courtesy to give me a heads up that my job was being outsourced to a man who clearly shops in the "we've run out of ideas" aisle at Tesco. The whole situation is as awkward as a middle-class dinner party, where no one knows where to look, because someone accidentally mentions the wrong brand of wine. What am I even supposed to do now? Stand up, march in there, and make a speech about reclaiming my territory, like some sort of disappointed monarch who's just been informed his castle's now a holiday let? Yeah, I didn't think so either. Greg's out there just existing, oblivious to the existential horror I'm experiencing. And it's not like I can ask him to leave, you know, because that'd be awkward or confrontational, because that's exactly what the situation calls for, isn't it? Awkward confrontation. In a space the size of a council flat. Oh, and let's not forget, I've been gone for 4 months, so apparently I don't even know the new rules anymore. So here I am, under the bed, literally, in what used to be my house. And what does Greg do? He goes on like he's the bloody father of the year. It's nice having a little family, he says. Oh right, sure, for you, Greg, it's nice. For me, it's like getting an emotional lobotomy with a side of cold chips. And honestly, I'd ask for my bloody life back. but I'm starting to wonder if I even had it in the first place. Credit where credit's due, my daughter. Absolute legend. I mean, if there's an award ceremony for 10-year-olds who've mastered the art of gaslighting grown men while concealing their freshly traumatized father under a bed, she's walking home with the golden BAFTA and a Tesco meal deal for services to espionage. She handled it like she'd been training for this moment her entire short life. Like MI5 had been recruiting from year 6. Like she'd watched many episodes of Line of Duty and thought, I could do better. And you know what? She did. I heard her little voice, all innocence and mild, cartoon-related irritation, casually tell him, nothing, just watching cartoons. Like she wasn't actively running interference for her biological father, who'd just found out his house had been colonized by Discount Greg from aisle 5. She didn't flinch. Didn't even stammer. Meanwhile, I'm under the bed, breathing like I've just run a half marathon through emotional landmines, trying not to sneeze, cry, or absolutely lose the plot. And then she pulls it off. I hear the shuffle of footsteps, his, not hers, walking downstairs, probably to microwave his feelings and steal more of my crisps. She waits, pauses like a pro, then tiptoes back in, gets on her knees like a tiny little war nurse tending to a casualty of heartbreak, and whispers, he's gone. You can come out now. Like I'm the family cat who got stuck behind the boiler, like I haven't just had a full-blown emotional aneurysm in the shadows of my own bed frame. I crawl out, knees cracking, dignity in tatters, dust bunnies clinging to my last shred of masculinity, and she just gives me this look. Not fear, not pity, just calm, like she's seen worse, which frankly is worrying. She brushes a bit of fluff off my jumper, completely unbothered, and asks, do you want toast? Toast, toast. I'm stood there, watching my 10-year-old calmly manage a situation that has me emotionally spiraling like someone's just unplugged my soul, and her grand solution is toast, and I say yes. Of course I do. What else am I supposed to do? File for custody? Challenge Greg to a duel with baguettes from Aldi? No, I accept the toast, because at that point, carbs are the only form of emotional support I can afford. She skips off like this whole experience was just a Tuesday. Meanwhile, I'm left standing in the ruins of my life, emotionally disemboweled, covered in lint, and being offered buttered hovies by a child who deserves a knighthood. So yeah, Mom's gone off the radar, Greg's moved in like mildew, and my daughter's basically running the place like a tiny war general. Honestly, I'm not even mad anymore, just confused and slightly impressed. Eventually, I walk downstairs. Not storm. Not stride, I walk, like a man who's just had the full spiritual experience of discovering his life is a lie, and the bloke shagging his wife is wearing his Primark dressing gown. I mean, not to be dramatic, but if I'd had a box of matches and slightly less regard for prison food, this story might have ended with a news segment and a GoFundMe for the neighbors. She sees me first, my wife, standing by the kettle like she's about to offer me a bloody cuppa and pretend we're on loose. Women doing a segment on blended families. Her eyes go wide, not in guilt, mind you, not even fear, just irritation like I just interrupted her bake-off finale. Then Greg turns round. Greg with the receding hairline and the audacity. Greg in my dressing gown. Greg, who looked at me like I was the one who needed to explain himself. Greg, who genuinely had the nerve to clutch his mug like it was a shield and go, All right, mate. I have been shot at, bombed. Seen grown men cry over instant coffee and lost football bets in the desert, but nothing prepared me for that moment. I wasn't even angry yet, I was just baffled. Like I'd entered a parallel dimension where logic goes to die and your missus invites Greg over for spag bowl and betrayal. And my daughter? She's on the sofa, sat cross-legged like a tiny Grecian oracle, bowl of popcorn in hand, watching, chewing thoughtfully. Like this was an episode of EastEnders and she already knew the twist ending. I stood in the middle of the room. Everything so normal it felt violent. The telly was still on. There was a scented candle going. Greg's sock was on the radiator like it belonged there. And I asked one question, just one. The kind you practice in your head but never quite expect to say out loud without crying or punching a fruit bowl. How long? That's it. Not why. Not how could you. Not even, what the hell is Greg doing using my Wi-Fi like he pays the bill? Just how long? And the silence that followed? Louder than the entire war I'd just come home from. Louder than any explosion. louder than my own thoughts, which were mostly screaming things like, "Burn it all down and push. Greg out the window, and mate, you forgot to pick up milk." She didn't answer. Not straight away, just stared at me like I'd asked the price of printer ink. Greg had the decency to look like he might wee himself. And I stood there trying not to cry or spontaneously combust or commit a very minor, very British murder, you know. Tidy, polite, over in time for tea. She finally opened her mouth, said something like, "It's not what it looks like," which frankly is hilarious, because it looked exactly like what it bloody well was. And Greg, to his credit, or his utter stupidity, mumbled something about emotional support and loneliness and feeling like part of the family. Oh, did you, Greg? Did you feel like part of the family while nicking my toasty maker and playing Dad on weekends? My daughter just kept munching popcorn. Didn't blink. Honestly, give her a clipboard and a headset. She could have been directing the whole thing. So there I was, in my own kitchen, looking at my wife who looked like she'd rather be anywhere else, looking at Greg who looked like he'd just been caught nicking a Freddo, and realizing, with the full, chest-caving weight of it, this wasn't my house anymore. It was theirs. And I was the awkward guest who'd overstayed his welcome. And that, my friends, is the moment I understood what true British emotional suppression looks like. So yeah, 4 months overseas, sand in places sand should never be, sleeping in a tin can that rattled every time a lorry backfired, eating food that came in packets and smelt vaguely of regret. And through all of it, I kept myself going with one little lie. At least I've got home. Home. That mythical place where your wife greets you with a brew and a sigh of relief. Your kid runs into your arms like an advert for British Airways. And your slippers are exactly where you left them. Not on Greg's feet. Thank you very much. Turns out what I had wasn't a home. It was Greg's starter pack. And I know what you're thinking. Surely there were signs. Hints, red flags, flapping about like bunting at a street party. But no, you don't expect to come back from service with a suitcase full of PTSD and find your marriage has been repossessed by a man who unironically says, "Brecky, the divorce? Oh, she's in progress, chugging along like a northern rail train, delayed, overpriced, and bound to end in tears. We're communicating via solicitors and post-it notes. She left me one on the kettle the other day that said, 'Don't forget to sign the Form E.' Like we're co-workers in a very tragic sitcom. The therapy, weekly. Shout out to Sandra. Lovely woman. Looks like Judi Dench and swears like a sailor. I tell her about the war and she nods. I tell her about Greg, and she offers to accidentally run him over with her Prius. Honestly, national treasure. My daughter's all right. Clever kid. Half spy, half emotional support animal. The way she handled that living room ambush. MI5, if you're listening, give her a badge and a novelty mug. She's earned it. She's been staying with me part-time, which basically means our evenings now consist of silent dinners, awkward questions like, did mommy love Greg more? And bonding over revenge fantasy playlists on Spotify. And Greg, I hope he's enjoying my Netflix recommendations. He's got a front row seat to 4 years' worth of military documentaries, serial killer deep dives, and passive-aggressive thrillers, where the cheating husband gets disemboweled with a letter opener. Subtle, I know, but let me have something. Also, side note, if he messes with my continue watching list, I will sue. People keep saying weird things to me. Like, at least you know now, or everything happens for a reason. Yeah, Carol, the reason is that my wife has the emotional consistency of a wet flannel and Greg owns a scented candle collection. That's the bloody reason. But here's the thing they don't tell you about coming home, about loss, about betrayal that smells faintly of lynx, Africa and your own aftershave on someone else's neck. No one prepares you for this bit, the stupid, mundane, passive bit, the bit after the explosion where you're still alive, but everything's a bit sideways. You go to Tesco, you buy milk, you realize your loyalty card's still linked to her number. You listen to the same 4 sad songs until your phone judges you, and then one day you laugh. Like properly, not the sarcastic, bitter kind you've been surviving on, but a real one, at something stupid your kid says. And it doesn't fix anything, but it doesn't feel like bleeding either. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Home's gone, marriage, toast, Netflix profile, compromised. But I've got a daughter who still calls me dad, a therapist with road rage and a slow, Stubborn belief that I might be all right, eventually. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go change my password before. Greg starts rating my war documentaries with 1 star.